Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this November music concert. So glad that you are here. I know that there are people who are watching on the live stream, so I want to welcome you that are here. Uh, I wish that we could fill up this building, and maybe one day we will be able to. But for now, we're going to enjoy this. I should say that when this concert is over, just ask that you go outside. And thankfully, it's really warm out there, and you can talk to each other out there. I made Wayne Greer get up on a ladder to replace some of the light bulbs, so that works. Thank you, Wayne. Yes. I'm going to start with a piece by George Handel called Hornpipe from his Water Music. It is a good pandemic song because King George I commissioned Handel to compose some music that could be played on a barge floating down the River Thames, which is about as far from contracting a disease as you can imagine. If we had a river flowing through Linden, I perhaps would get the piano on a barge, but we don't have such a thing. So I'm going to play it up here. Thank you. So, yeah, that would not have gone very far down the River Thames. There's more to the water music than that. I'd like to say something about me as a piano player. I was fortunate that my mom and dad paid for piano lessons when I was a kid and a teenager, and got as far as taking my grade 10 with Royal Conservatory. Then I was very fortunate to have come to me this beautiful grand piano. The story behind it is a good one. It belonged to my grandma, Anne Schroeder. And she and her husband, Peter, spent their life directing choirs or leading choirs. He would direct and she would play, and she was a very, very good piano player. They did this for Bible schools across the prairies. And on one such tour, one of the singers was Deanna Schroeder, their daughter, and they arrived in the Crow's Nest Pass, and there was a single pastor there named Robert Peters, and somehow they got together and liked each other and got married, and 3 years later I was born. In later life, Anne and Peter Schroeder retired in Steinbach, and Peter tuned pianos and sold pianos, and my grandmother, Anne, taught piano lessons. At some point, Grandpa Schrader, bought this piano for his wife. Then she moved into an apartment and felt uncomfortable playing inside the apartment, so I got it. And I'm a lucky man because of it. After I turned 20, there's about 30 years now in which playing piano was hit and miss. A lot of miss. And the result is that I have very little experience playing in front of people. So I have to get used to this. This is baptism by fire for me. I've never done something this big before. So all to say, I apologize for the mistakes. I'm just getting used to that. But I plan to enjoy what I play. The next song is Minuet by Jan Paderewski. Paderewski was a composer and a pianist and a man from Poland, and the people of Poland liked him so much that they made him prime minister. That happened in the year 2019, and he was prime minister for 3 years. And It's interesting because the Treaty of Versailles was signed in 2019, which settled the European situation after World War I. And it is Jan Paderewski's signature on there on behalf of Poland. Well, 3 years later, he just didn't like politics, so he quit and went to the States and spent the rest of his life performing in the States. And this was his favorite song. Thank you. Well, now three pieces by Claude Debussy, who was a French composer from about 130 years ago. He wrote some of the most beautiful piano pieces ever. I am going to play two of them, and then Warren is going to play one. The first is Arabesque, and it's a beautiful piece. The effect that Debussy does is he has, in one hand, playing the notes at 3 to a beat, and in the other hand, 2 to a beat. And that gives it this shimmering quality. Sometimes it is the right hand doing 3 and the left hand doing 2. Sometimes it reverses it, so the left hand is doing 3 and the right hand doing 2. It is away from that solid classical feel of the generation before, and this just gives it that, what they call the impressionistic music. So this is the Arabesque. Thank you. This song, I think, is Clair de Lune. It was the case that when Gillian was a very young girl, 3 or 4, that she would see her dad using a pencil to mark in the fingering. And so after Dad was done, she would get up on the piano bench, take the pencil, and simply scribble all over my music. You wouldn't believe how much music I have that looks like this. Funny thing, Warren was showing me a piece by Rachmaninoff that he wanted to play, and sure enough, opened it up, and 2/3 of each page was just penciled in. So, yes, Clair de Lune. Now, if you are interested in how a piano works, this is one of the rare cases which requires the middle pedal. The middle pedal allows you to play a chord, and then you can take your hand off and it sounds, and then you can use both hands to chord up top. It's going to happen twice in the song if you just want to watch for it. It's interesting. Thank you. That's just a beautiful song. I love playing it. Next, Warren is going to play The Girl with the Flaxen Hair. Again, just really gorgeous chords. And this is a chance for the grand piano to shine. And I'd like to say something about a grand piano because so much is going electronically now. There are still some advantages to this guy right here. The inside here are 230 strings, and each one is tightened up in order that they sound. And the accumulated pull of all those strings is 230 strings. 18 tons is how much those strings are pulling on that frame. And that is why a piano is heavy, because you need a frame to hold that. Even if it budges a tiny bit, the piano goes out of tune. So you think about this piano sitting here, and it is day after day, night after night, holding what is equivalent to 3.5 huge elephants just suspended from it. So it's a big instrument. One of the advantages of a grand piano is that all the strings sound. I'm just pressing this right pedal here, and it lifts up, if you were to look inside here, all the dampers. So now all the strings are free to sound. And a string can do many different vibrations. It has its primary vibration in which the thing is going like this, and that's the one that you mainly hear when you strike it. But it can do this one and in thirds and in quarters. And so when you hit one note, you are hearing all the strings singing in sympathy with that note, and it just makes a big, full, rich sound. I was just playing around this afternoon, and you can demonstrate it this way. I pressed this low C here, which means that the damper has come off of that string, and it is free. It's not suppressed by the damper. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to hit a chord hard with my right hand and then take my right hand off of it so that the dampers come back down on the string and kill the sound on those strings. And what you are going to hear is this free string down here singing in sympathy with all four notes that I hit with my right hand. So just listen carefully here. Can you hear it? Yeah. So every time you just press this pedal down, lift up all the dampers, and you hit any chord, all the strings are singing away in there, and it just makes this huge sound that makes a grand piano sound so good. Well, with that as introduction, let's hear Warren play another Debussy song here. Well, thank you, Warren. Another beautiful song. Well, right now we have Alicia Wood. She is going to come play something from her exam that she took this last spring. This last spring, she took her grade 2 exam, and she played it on this piano here with a camera sitting, looking at her, and through that camera, her examiner was looking at her and listening to her. And I'm sure it must have been the freakiest thing to do your test that way. But I heard her playing, and I came up and I thought, wow, she's got something. Just a solid, confident touch, and I really wanted you to hear her. Now, it's a difficult song she's going to play, but it is short, so make sure you're listening right off the bat. Alicia, come play. Good job, Alicia. Now, Jill Friesen is somebody who sings in our worship team on a regular rotation on Sunday morning. You can tell she just has a really beautiful voice. She's always singing with other people, and so I just got a bit selfish, and it was time just to hear Jill sing. So she is willing to sing a couple songs for us, God With Us and Come Thou Fount. And my wife, Carla, is going to accompany her.
You've come to bring peace.
Oh, thank you, Jill and Carla. That was really beautifully done. The next one is by a living composer, John Williams. He was trained as a pianist and a trombonist and became famous writing film score, and most famous of all for writing the music to Star Wars. Now, I'm not going to play Star Wars for you tonight. Sorry about that, but he did write other music, and this theme from Sabrina is also a very beautiful song. And finally is the big one. This is Chopin's Polonaise in A-flat major. It came to be known as the Heroic Polonaise because of the time that it was written in, which was 1842. And here's the situation. In 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte lost the Battle of Waterloo. He surrendered himself to the British, who shipped him off to a tiny island smack in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and there he lived the rest of his years. All the kings and queens of Europe got together, and they decided that there should be no more of this revolutionary spirit with all its wars and battles and people dying. So they really cracked down on how society would be under the principle of absolute monarchy. And probably the ordinary peasant appreciated having one year be like the next. But there was a lot of advance in discovery and science, and people became restless under this very rigid system. There was stirrings that there should be a chance for change. And in 1848, called the Year of Revolutions, many of the governments in Europe toppled in the face of this revolutionary fervor once more. This song was felt to capture the spirit of those times, the heroic Polonaise. Now, when I was looking up in Wikipedia for information about this song, it gave a warning that it is physically demanding. And part of it is just that it is a big song. And a big part of it is that at the 4-minute mark, Chopin requires that the left hand play consecutive octaves for a long time. Especially when I was learning it, the lactic acid built up in the wrist just became extremely painful by the end of it. And after that, there is this very soft, lovely lyrical part, which I think is there just to let the left hand recover for the rest of the song. All right, let's see how this goes. Well, it happened twice in a row. This drip of sweat started to come down my forehead. Thank you very much for coming. I hope that you had a great evening together. It was a fun thing to do. And thank you to all our special guests who played and sang. Really appreciated that. And just want to wish you a very good evening and a good night. Yes, Peggy. I'm so glad you could come, Peggy. Yes, I can't turn Peggy down, can I? Thanks. Again, thank you for coming, and have a good night.